What's the haps, Panther fans? It's your boys from C3, CarolinaCatChronicles.com, bringing you the C3 podcast every Tuesday night where the Panther fans just go at it talking about what's going on. And it's a good week to be talking about the Carolina Panthers. Let me go ahead and introduce my panel of prestigious Panther fans. Joe, that freaking Puerto Rican, Riollano, say hello.
What up, Panther Nation? It is the freaking Puerto Rican coming to you live in full effect from the low country of South Carolina. Happy to be here on the show with Tony. It's a good week to be a Panther fan.
That is the truth. I am brought on tonight to, in many ways, to show that I'm willing to admit that I get a little jittery when it comes to football and making the call. And tonight, our guest, straight facts, Mr. Money, Mr. T Money, right? 1993. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. T Money, 1993, on YouTube and on Twitter, a.k.a. Mr. Straight Facts, because that's all I speak.
And he's willing to remind me that because you pulled the trigger, man. You pulled the trigger this week and called it when we were on the round table with Big Q on Friday night. I guess it was Friday. Was it Friday? No, it was Saturday night.
Yeah, it was Saturday.
I was in that moment where, you just don't, the uncertainty, and both you and Panther Nasty broke it down and just held on straight. And what I learned, and we'll just talk a few minutes and just tell everybody what's going on. Tonight it's episode Battlecats, and we're going to be talking Carolina Panthers versus the Detroit Lions, where me and Joey are going to be going this weekend. So you can check us out down there. We're going to be having fun, having a good time, get to our first Panther game of the season. So tonight's show is going to be mostly about the Detroit Lions and the Carolina Panthers matchup, Cam Newton starting, and what we're going to be facing. We have a guest from DraftTech.com coming on at 10:10 to talk about Detroit Lions with us. So we'll go ahead and introduce, Joe, his name is Suggs, right?
His name is Mike Suggs.
Mike Suggs. Okay, so
Suds like with beer suds.
Oh, beer suds. All right, nice. That's a good name. I have been so busy at work, guys. I have 3 kids, and my wife was not at home tonight, so I was with these 3 kids manning the fire, protected the home fort. So I admittedly have just hopped on and am barely prepared. So you guys, I'm going to let my buddies and my compadres carry most of the show tonight. Guys, one thing just taken away before we get in with Mr. Suds, let's talk a moment about Tampa Bay. I won't say what I underestimated, because I had said these things. I had said our offense is going to be better than last year. I had said that our defense was going to be better than last year. But what I was, I guess, kind of awed by or overtaken by was the mystique of other teams' improvements and really not following them as closely as I do the Panthers. And that uncertainty made me a little uncertain. And what I was reminded on Sunday, it's kind of like when you have your mama's cooking after a long time and you just haven't had a home-cooked meal, and then you have them homemade chicken cutlets or that homemade mashed potatoes. Our defense is just home cooking, brothers. I mean, good Lord, you forget because it's not sexy away. It's not the 45-point win. How powerful of a force it is out there. Did you guys feel that way on Sunday?
Yeah, I definitely did. I felt like the defense, I was expecting him to play well, but to hold a guy like Doug Martin to 9 carries for 9 yards is just something that you're not going to see too many times in this NFL in a season.
I agree. And when you say hold them to 9 carries, 9 yards, they held them off the field essentially. They played them. They played that part of the game so well that they took them out. It's just completely ineffective.
And Lovey felt like he had to bench him for the sake of the team, is what I saw after the game when I guess he did his press conference or whatever, he felt like Bobby Rainey at that point was what was actually better for the team.
That's crazy. Joey, how did you feel seeing that defense on the field again?
Well, you did touch on it. It's not the sexiest part of it's ugly defense. Playing a defensive oriented football game is not going to be a popular. I mean, they didn't even talk about it on Sunday Night Football. They didn't even recap that game. They recapped every other game except that and the Jacksonville game. And because it's not sexy, there weren't a ton of big plays. We made some good plays, but it just goes to show you that it's a true moniker when they say defense wins championships. It really is. And we have the championship level defense. That's clear.
I just could not imagine this defense with a corner, like not a legit corner. Not to say, because the guys that we have, I like Melvin White a lot for being an undrafted free agent. Kason has played well, better than what we had before. But imagine if you had a guy like, did you guys see Bradley Roby in the Denver game? Thought he looked good. I thought he looked real good. So if you had somebody kind of like a dynamic player in that secondary, we're talking a different class of defense. And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys talk about that, Joe, and you kind of lead the conversation and while I contact our guest.
Okay. Yes, I believe I said it to. We started a fan club here in Charleston where we get together and watch the game. And I said it to one of the people there watching the game. I said, if you gave Carolina Panthers the secondary that the Seahawks have, this could be arguably the greatest defense ever. And I know that's saying a lot because I watched the '85 Bears and they were dominant. I watched the 2000 or 2001 Ravens and they were pretty good too. So I really believe that we are only a good secondary away from being one of the greatest defenses of all time. What do you think?
I think a lot of that is not even that we're so dominant. It's that we make plays when we have to make plays. When you have no choice but to make the play. Like Luke Kuechly, I've always learned it's not about how many plays you make; it's when you make the play.
Right.
I mean, I was in the hangout when the game was on, and I called it. I said we're gonna go 3 and out. Eric Anderson is gonna get the first down. They're gonna get the ball back, and we're gonna end the game. Keep the turnover a sack. And it's just like to have a defense that you can count on to make those kind of plays.
Right.
I mean, the first play they ran, Luke Kuechly knocks it out. And
right.
I think our linebackers. I mean, you said secondary. I feel like we need to go ahead and get it settled whether Chase Blackburn or AJ Klein is gonna start. Because I'm not really a fan of AJ Klein though. I like Chase Blackburn a little bit better.
I like Blackburn because he is experienced and he can see an offense and sort of decipher what's going on. Where Klein isn't as seasoned, he's not. But last season, that game that he had against the 49ers, Klein did, was really impressive to me. I think he really showed his potential. Now, he still hasn't put it together, but I really believe he showed what he's able to, what he could be if he's able to put it together. But yeah, you're right. We do need. I think we are a linebacker away to, because after Thomas Davis, after Luke Kuechly, there's a significant drop off. That's no disrespect to Blackburn or Klein, but they're not the same level of linebacker that Kuechly and Davis are. It's just that simple.
Yeah, but as far as Kuechly and Davis, I don't know how you can say they're not the best tandem in football. I know Willis and Bowman is up there, but I just think as far as the way both of them can decipher plays, the way that Thomas Davis still, he's been in the league 7-8 years, and he still has that out of Georgia speed. Luke Kuechly, he can just tell a play from just like even the first pick we had, it was caused by him. He flexed the ball in the air, and Kazan gets the pick.
That's right. He was. We did sort of a prediction on, I think it was Thursday or Friday, on the website as to what will the score be and who will have an impact in the game, I picked the score would be 16-13 Carolina, and that Luke Kuechly would make the biggest play of the game. And I almost nailed it.
Yeah, I think I picked the score. I think I had it 21 or 24-10, I think is the prediction that I had.
All right, guys, you tell me, what have you guys been talking about while I've been gone? I got Mike Sudds on the line right now, and just kind of bridge me in, and then we're going to jump in with Mike in just a second.
We were just talking about how good the Panthers' defense is, how great their linebacking core is, the best tandem in the NFL, Kuechly and Davis, and then we discussed a little bit A.J. Klein versus Chase Blackburn, and doing something at that linebacker position, either.
Okay. Yeah, well, speaking of defense and offense, what we're going to do right now, guys, is we're going to jump in with drafttech.com, Mike Sudds, popping bottles, obviously, after their win on Monday Night Football. Mike, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thanks a lot for having me.
All right. Well, we just kind of wanted to spend just 5 or 10 minutes with you and discuss essentially the Detroit Lions Carolina Panthers matchup. How happy are you after that Monday night game showing versus the New York Giants?
Well, you folks in Carolina have had a good opportunity to watch Joe Lombardi's offenses, and it was quite amazing, the show that they put on. The offense ran efficiently, and the defense chipped in nice. It was a great over the Appalachian state of the NFC.
My question to you is this, Mike, is can you be really that excited after beating the New York Giants?
Oh, no. But what I saw in the game as far as techniques, as far as packages, as far as the efficiency of the offense, as far as the defensive scheme, it really buoyed my confidence. And prior to yesterday, I had Detroit penciled in as a loser coming to your place Sunday. I'm not so sure about that anymore.
I like that. I like somebody that's confident in their team. I would agree with that statement that based on last year, I felt confident about the Panthers, handling the situation well. And I'm not saying I don't now, but I realize now that it's going to be a closer game than it may have been, or I thought it may have been. Albeit in no way, shape, or form is the Giants' defense similar to the Panthers' defense. And I think that's where, obviously we know we're a much better defense. So the efficiency and the how well the offense functioned, I don't know. You're definitely not going to have that same. It's not going to be that easy against the Panthers.
Yeah, Mike, were you able to hear Joey well? Because we've got kind of a loose phone connection tonight. Were you able to hear Joey in those comments kind of juxtaposing the Carolina Panthers defense with New York Giants?
Not very well, but I'll tell you, I can't imagine the Giants' defense playing that poorly. I always thought that their secondary was probably one of the strengths of their defense, and they just stayed at home. They could have phoned it in.
Okay. Well, what we see this is that this Sunday, me and Joey are going to be at the game. Carolina is going to be hosting the Detroit Lions. We're going to see a top-tier defense versus really a top-tier offense. What really ran very smooth and efficiently. It was a well-lubricated machine, it seemed like, on Monday Night Football, but the opponent was not that great. Do you see yourself? How much of an underdog do you see yourself as, Mike?
I'll tell you, I think it's a coin flip right now. I really do. I don't know how any team on earth can cover Calvin Johnson. If you double team him, they're going to go to Tate and Bush, and they have other weapons as well. It's probably the best array of weapons that the Lions have had during Stafford's tenure here.
I agree with that 100%.
All right, Straight Facts. How do you feel about this? And we've got two other people on the line with us, Mike. It's me, Tony Dunn, a.k.a. The Professor, here with Joey Riollano. And our buddy Straight Facts tonight is bringing us, man, we can't really question him. He went 13-3 in his pick-em last week. Tell us, what do you feel about this idea that it's that close, Straight Facts?
I feel like Detroit is a dominant offense if you do not get any pressure on Matthew Stafford. I feel like when you get up in Matthew Stafford's face and you're pressuring him, he makes a lot of mistakes. When I watch Matthew Stafford, when I see pressure getting in his face, he starts throwing off his back foot. His mechanics don't look the same. So I feel like the difference between us and a lot of teams is we don't have to blitz. We can rush 4 and drop everybody else in coverage. So that way we don't play a lot of man. We play a lot of zone. So the main thing about our defense is not letting anybody get behind us. And then even when you get to the red zone, you're not doing a lot of scoring. You're kicking field goals. I mean, it's not too many. I think we're normally one of the best in stopping teams from getting touchdowns in the red zone.
Right.
I agree.
So, I mean, it's not like that's why when people was talking about our secondary before the season, I didn't know why everybody was talking about, oh, y'all don't have any corners. It's not about that. It's about, can you keep a corner up underneath and a safety over the top and come up and make plays whenever they catch the ball. We'll let you get some catches. Mm-hmm. Even Mike Evans had a lot of catches, and Vincent Jackson had a lot of catches, but they only had 30 yards apiece.
Right. Yes, it is difficult getting in the end zone against the Carolina defense. When that field shortens, it's like we add an extra defender in the secondary into that zone defense and help strengthen guys that aren't necessarily individually standouts. Mike, how does Detroit plan on countering that natural pass rush where we don't have to blitz that much, where essentially you're going to be playing the best front seven in football? How does Detroit look to address that?
Well, Joe Lombardi, he likes to play a lot of two tight end sets, and I think that with a guy like Brandon Pettigrew, he'll stay in and chip a lot. The running backs, Bell and Bush, they're great at picking up the blitz or the extra attacker. The key to this game is going to be the play at the front four for both teams. Whoever dominates is probably going to win this game.
Tell us the status of your offensive line. I saw that they seem to have had a little bit of trouble on the weak side last night, it looked like. And I didn't watch the game as closely as I could. But I also saw, and if this is the case, if the game is to be won in the trenches, our offensive line versus your defensive line and vice versa, your secondary, likewise, is not – well, first you guys lost, I think, today, a guy to a season-ending injury, and everybody else, they're talking about picking up practice squad guys and potentially even signing Champ Bailey, from what I read. How is it then, is that while you're gonna be playing a much more balanced team going into this game with a defense that's a lot bigger and stronger than the one you played before, how do you guys find yourselves that limiting the team at all, Mike?
Oh man, that's gonna be a tough one. It really is. This is going to be a real heavyweight match. Both offenses, I believe, are going to tend to be conservative with a lot of short passing, a lot of running, and I think that the offensive lines here might be the difference. And Detroit lost Adrian Waddle, their right tackle, after the first series last night. Now, the step down in performance to Corey Hilliard hasn't been that bad. Rob Sims at show some cracks with age here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some changes down the line there. It depends. You guys really think that you're going to blitz much? Will you use Keekly in that capacity, though?
No, that's kind of against our natural style of play, is that generally we don't have to blitz. We can rush our front four, just sending our defensive tackles, pushing up the gut, and our two defensive ends, Greg Hardy and Charles Johnson, and that usually lets our corners be able to run free and run more of a nickel defense a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not our corners, our linebackers, which that means we get to bring in an extra corner often to play a lot of zone defense. So we generally don't blitz very much at all. And if we do blitz, it's kind of timely safety blitzes or corner blitz to kind of just change, like, really, if you're going to do it, we want it to set you back 15 yards. So
it's a surprise when we
yes,
blitz. Yeah, it usually is a surprise.
And normally, if you watch Luke, I feel like Luke is just him reading the play. Like, he drops back, he sees nobody's coming in his zone, so he just goes. Like, I know he said he wanted to work on his pass rushing ability.
Right.
But most of the time when I watch him rushing the quarterback, is he drops in his zone first, and instantly he knows, hey, I got a free lane to the quarterback, boom. Or even Doug Martin tried to block him last Sunday, and he just hit him with a quick swim move and sacked Josh McCown. So
right. He does. He gets to play a lot of free. What we're going to do is, since we've taken up a lot of Mike's time, we're going to finish this last little bit of the interview with Mike Sudds. And I want to ask you, while our panel prepares 3 questions, last 3 things to ask you. I'm going to give everybody one question. Is there any questions that you have for Carolina Panthers fans, and specifically as your interest? Because I don't think we tend to, even though we're both NFC teams, that these two fan bases don't seem to cross paths very often. What are you interested in knowing about the Carolina Panthers, Mike?
Well, I've actually got a couple questions. First, how's Cam Newton doing? And secondly, are you guys going to double cover Calvin Johnson?
I will say this, is Cam Newton is going to play right now. I'm a little upset that they didn't use a little more trickery and say that Cam Newton was, I'm hoping on Wednesday, tomorrow, that we say he has a setback and that we have Detroit start preparing less for Cam Newton, and then we say he's magically healthy on Sunday. That's why, but I think he's going to be fine, is that the rib, he could have played this past Sunday, but what a lot of, obviously, I think Ron Rivera was confident enough that in being able to beat Tampa Bay to where we could get another week of rest out of him. Joey, how do you think, I'll let you two, both you guys answer the back end of that question, or both. What do you guys think about that? How is Cam Newton? What do you expect out of him, Joey? And what are we going to do about Calvin Johnson?
I think Cam is going to play.
Hold on 1 second, Mike.
Cam Newton's mobility, that's what they're probably most concerned with. And once he gets outside the pocket, he's very, very dangerous. So, I think that's a real concern there.
Okay. Joe, tell me, what do we do about Joey Riollano, that freaking Puerto Rican? What do we do about Calvin Johnson?
I don't think you double him. You're running a zone anyway, so you don't double him. You play your zone and you go up and you make a tackle like we always do. Give him yards, give him yards, give him yards. Once they get inside the 30 or 20-yard line, the field is shrunk. You got a boundary that can act as a 12th defender and hold him to a field goal.
All right, Mike, any more questions for our panel?
No, guys, and thank you for having me. All I can say is that coming into this season, these two teams looked so similar, didn't they?
I don't know. I feel like we, the offense with us was not very we don't really know what was going on, and we are kind of a slower team, and so we're going to see how a defensive matchup goes against a high-powered offense. And this is kind of the ultimate question in football, is which wins out and which is more consistent. So I think that's kind of what we're going to have to look forward to. Mike, tell us, how can we follow your work?
I'm sorry, would you repeat that, please?
How can we follow your work? You're on drafttech.com, correct?
Yes, and I can be reached at lions@drafttech.com.
All right. Well, we will definitely put your name out to our fan base and make sure that they consult you whenever we run across the Detroit Lions after this week. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me, fellas.
All right.
All right. Have a good night.
All right.
All right. Straight facts. What do you think? What did you want to ask?
I was gonna ask. I mean, I guess who's on their defense besides Sue?
Besides Sue, that's they have a really fantastic linebacker named DeAndre Levy, is his name, and he led all linebackers last year with 6 interceptions, I believe, and he had one Monday. He had one Monday night too. He played at Wisconsin. He's fast. He's sort of a Luke Kuechly light. He's an outside backer, so he doesn't get, he's not playing in the middle out. He's an outside backer, but he's really fast, good size, and like I said, last year he led all linebackers in interceptions with 6, I believe was the number, and 2 of those he took back for touchdowns. So that would be the only other big name or the only other big play guy that they have besides Sue.
What, Mr. T Money? What in the world? I'm going to say this, is that Matt Stafford runs 1 touchdown in, and all of a sudden our teams are similar.
It's funny.
I don't know how our teams are supposed to be similar at all, because I knew that the Lions have an explosive offense, but they're not physical at all, and they don't have any defense. As far as the Panthers, we're highly physical. We just don't have all the weapons that they have. Now, I'll give them that. They have a whole lot of weapons.
Yes.
But honestly, he kept on talking about Calvin Johnson. I'm more worried about Reggie Bush than Calvin Johnson.
I agree, because that is somebody just that. Well, first, we had to deal with him when he was in New Orleans enough, and second, that's the kind of guy that bails teams out against us when we win physically in the trenches, kind of like what Darren Sproles was able to do.
Right. All he needs is a crease, and he can take it to the house. So if he finds that crease in your defense, he's going to smoke you. So where Calvin Johnson, he's reliant on the quarterback getting him the ball. Reggie Bush can take a handoff and go.
And last year, I feel like the 2 running backs that we really ever struggled against was C.J. Spiller and Andre Ellington, 2 really fast running backs who can catch the ball, who can, get anything done out of the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Calvin Johnson, Tony knows my belief. If you're not a mobile quarterback, you pretty much like blood in the water to the Carolina Panthers defensive line.
I agree with that. Is that one of the things that you're just so reminded of is that how we can make you so one-dimensional of a team, I feel like, is that the Panthers can isolate what you can. It seems like a team can always do something kind of well against the defense. Like, they will find a way to move the ball. But what we do is we slim down what teams are able to do so much that the margin of error is so small for them that you feel like you're playing well against our defense. You feel like you're moving the ball, and then before you know it, we got a sack. It's 3rd and 17, or
turnover. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
Tony, that's a very good point. I'm going to say that's a very good point, because you said we slim down your options. Like, you don't have your full repertoire of plays to run, and then what plays are running well, but so do we. so we can
Right.
begin to see them coming, and we can begin anticipating them, and that's when we can send a blitz if we haven't been able to get pressure on the quarterback or
All right.
whatever the case may be.
I agree. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Sunday's game plan. We're going to be going in for us. We've got Cam Newton, first game. How do you guys feel he's all going to? I mean, it's clearly he's going to play. All right. It seems like that's just the way it is going to be. No, you think it's a smokescreen?
I'm not 100% sold on that, because if you remember before the Bucs game, we was hearing, oh, we expect Cam to play. I want to see Cam after this Wednesday practice, because it's going to be his first real practice of the week. I feel like something may go wrong as far as if he comes out not throwing a lot, or if he comes, like, I'm not 100% sold. Once we get through Wednesday, if they say he's good to go, but until then, I'm kind of like, eh.
Okay, Joey, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think he sat out week 1 and he was not happy about it. He threw a fit. Well, I guess he didn't throw a fit about it because he realized, they were trying to convince him of big picture versus right now.
Right.
And I think this is his home opener. He's going to want to be there, man. This is the home opener for this year. He's going to want to play. So if
it's a big game, too.
Yeah, it is a big game. If there's any way possible that he would be able to be on that field, he's going to be out on the field. But, I mean, if he can't go and practice tomorrow, or he's very limited in practice tomorrow, you got to look at Derek Anderson again. You have to. So tomorrow, I guess, will be a big day. You were right, T-Money. It's going to be a big day. Tomorrow we're gonna.
Maybe this is some smoke and mirrors a little bit. Hopefully, I'm hoping they say he's nicked up and he's not going to play, and then he just sits there when he doesn't throw when the media is allowed in there, and then when the media is not allowed in there, he just starts practicing like a machine. And then on Sunday, he comes trotting out and just blows up for some crazy awesome game, but. Money, what's our game plan going in against a team like this? Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. What do you want to see improve from last week, and how do you think we need to adjust against this new opponent?
Actually, for once, I feel like Shula had a lot of good play calling, and it was pretty even play calling. I think it was 34 passes and 33 runs last game. But I would like to see. Me personally, I want Jonathan Stewart as a third down back. I mean, Tolbert's my boy, but with Tolbert, he doesn't have that same running ability that Jonathan Stewart has. He doesn't have that same where Jonathan Stewart can catch a ball out the backfield and just get up the field. I mean, there was a couple of times where I seen on third down where Tolbert could have got more yards if that was Jonathan Stewart or D'Angelo. But, I mean, because I never feel like Jonathan Stewart is that bad of a pass blocker. Like, I don't never really see him miss blocks or anything like that when he plays.
No,
do you think that he is like the least physical short yardage back? Is that just me that thinks like for being so big, he doesn't seem to push the pile at all?
Who, Tolbert?
Yeah.
No, I feel like Tolbert is the opposite. Tolbert
Really?
I feel like Tolbert gives up yards because he wants to run people over.
Right.
Okay. Well, I feel like that's in the open field more. Like, Joey, how do you feel like he is? Because I don't think he does that well when we put him on fourth and short, like the 4th and inches or the goal line stand. I don't know what it is. It just seems.
I think that's more because we line him up as a running back instead of a fullback.
Well, here's what I think. I think Tolbert is a guy that cannot line up as and if Cam's in shotgun, he can't be your halfback. He's not effective, I don't think, with those quick hitters. I think he's more effective lined up as a tailback in the I formation, where he's got somebody blocking ahead of him and he can build up a head of steam and get going. I think if he's close to the line of scrimmage, he's less effective because he doesn't get that chance to get that momentum going. Whereas in an I formation, running off tackle or running inside, he has 6 or 7 yards to get the ball and start working his way toward the line of scrimmage. That's my thoughts.
Yeah,
I agree, because I feel like last year when he was the big back, we did a lot of running Richie Bracco at fullback and
Mhm.
Tolbert behind him.
Right.
But now I guess since he's back at just being a fullback, they're not really doing that anymore.
Yeah, he's kind of. It takes him a little time to get. He's like a locomotive, you know. He's
Right.
just got to get that engine rolling. But when he gets it going, it's hard to, you know, if he can get ahead of steam, like Joey was saying. Speaking of that, though, with this, I don't expect to see much of Tolbert in the offense after last week's performance by D'Angelo Williams and the desire to get Jonathan Stewart touches in the idea of, you know, making a more, because he does make our offense more dynamic. Now, it's not to say Tolbert's not going to be on the field, but I don't think, like, without him, without Jonathan Stewart last year, I felt like we featured Mike Tolbert a little. And I don't see that coming if D'Angelo Williams performs like he did on Sunday. Money, were you surprised about D'Angelo Williams' effectiveness on Sunday against the Tampa Bay Bucks?
No, because me personally, I've always been more of a fan of D'Angelo Williams than Jonathan Stewart. Even the old Maddens when both was good, and Jonathan Stewart was a starter, I would always switch it. I like D'Angelo Williams more because he always has that chance to make that cut and take it to the house.
Mm-hmm.
I like more for my starting back, and then Jonathan Stewart. What I like about him is no matter who hits him, he's always followed forward. He's always it was a couple of times I seen him. He gets hit right at the line of scrimmage against Tampa, and he falls forward for 4 or 5 more yards.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like D'Angelo Williams. I think his vision is just what separates him.
For me, I agree. I think, you know, Tony, you know I like Jonathan Stewart.
Yeah. I've always been more of the D'Angelo guy. You've been a little more Jonathan.
But I do appreciate the skill set that D'Angelo has, and he has good vision.
Right.
He really can see. You know, it may not be apparent, and it may only be there for a second, but he'll get the ball, go one way, and then see a crease, and he'll just take a quick step of that little burst, and he's gone. And
well, that's why he breaks 70-yarders every now and then, right? When everybody's hating on him.
Jonathan Stewart does not have that. Now, Jonathan Stewart is definitely better in the sense of being, you know, yards after contact. He can take a shot, stay up, and then keep going, or bounce off of somebody and keep going. Where D'Angelo, if you get your hands on him, he's a little easier to bring down. And, you know, no disrespect to D'Angelo Williams.
But I think that's part of what causes Jonathan Stewart's injuries is his running style. That whole it takes hit after hit after hit for him to go down. I think that beats up his body a little bit more. And I don't think you can knock what D'Angelo has done as far as a Panther. I mean, he's a franchise leader in yards. And also, even if you look at his yards per carry, he's at, what, almost 5 yards a carry?
Right.
Yeah, it was down a little last year, which brought the average down. But I think, like, after Sunday's game, it helped a lot. I think I heard on TV them say 4.8 or something.
Right. That sounds right.
And
which that means on the series, he's dribbling the ball first and second down, you pretty much got a first down every time.
Right. I think if there is one weakness to D'Angelo's game that seems just odd that never developed was his ability to play a role as a catching out of the backfield. He's never been used as a receiving back. It seems like it never works when they do try it. And I think that's why with Jonathan Stewart, when the play breaks down, something tends to help, or he does a little bit better. As D'Angelo Williams tends, to my eyes, thrive better when he's getting in a rhythm, he's getting reps, and he doesn't do good when they switch him in and out, in my opinion. I think he thrives a little bit more when he can get, he's not going to hit the home run every time, and he's got to get the carries and the touches to do something like any running back has to do. What about this? The tight end, Greg Olsen, guys. Joey, Greg Olsen had a phenomenal game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you guys are better XO football guys than me. Is a Tampa 2, is the tight end what typically beats a Tampa 2 defense the best?
Probably so. I think if you have a good one, yes, you can. Just being able to get into seams, to get between zones, to get behind the linebackers but in front of the safeties. Just that sort of gray area. If they can work that, you got to have a tight end that's real good at picking up a hole in the defense. And Greg Olsen is very good at that. He's a sharp, heady kind of tight end who I'm sure puts in a ton of film study, and he's able to find those holes. That's where his value is. Having snowshoes on in the field does not increase his value.
No, but yeah, if he was a half step faster, dude, he would have caught that one pass and had a monster game. Money, how did we see the tight end featured against the Tampa 2 defense, and what do you expect to see out of the tight ends this week?
I mean, I don't know if you remember me saying that in the podcast the other day, but I felt like that is why he was going to be the X factor, because Tampa doesn't have those, besides Levante David, they don't have them linebackers that can drop in coverage 15, 20, 25 yards down the field, which is why I felt like Greg Olsen was going to have a good game. And as far as what you said, as far as Greg Olsen's film study, you have to remember Greg Olsen's dad is a coach. So that's in his blood to study film and break down what defenses are doing. But as far as Detroit, I think he may not have as much yardage success because I think the linebackers in Detroit is a little bit faster and a little bit better in coverage than Tampa Bay, because I feel like Tampa Bay, they only had one linebacker who can do it.
And doesn't the weak side linebacker tend to play like a downhill and go after the quarterback? Isn't that who they usually send on blitzes and things like that a lot?
Yeah.
David. Doesn't David play a more active role in the pass rush, Levante David, than say a middle linebacker in our system, or even Thomas Davis plays in our system?
Which is why I've always hated when the Tampa fans in the offseason try to do the whole Levante David, Luke Kuechly debate. And I'm like, first of all, Levante David had to do all that for y'all to even have a chance in games. Second of all, and he's an outside linebacker. He's in coverage even more. He's covering slot receiver. He's covering running backs. Which Thomas Davis does a little bit of that for us, but he doesn't blitz as much because we don't have to. Levante David and that Tampa 2 and that Bucks defense, they can't get pass rush with their defensive ends. They have to blitz Levante David.
Right. Joey, how do you feel? Do you think Cam is going to try to develop a relationship with Olsen early? Because I feel like it's just going to be him and Kelvin Benjamin is all he's going to look to for the first half of the game. Just because, he's kind of nervous. He always gets a little revved up coming in. It takes him a little while to settle down. How do you see Cam adjusting to his first appearance? You see a lot of Olsen, or are we just going to see him just trying to throw it to his boyfriend, Kelvin Benjamin?
I think the first thing that we should do, and we should see a lot of, is D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart. We should see a lot of handoffs and let Cam sort of work his way into the game extremely slowly. If we're able to run the ball successfully, let's not put the pressure on Cam. And then I think once we've established the run, we'll see some play action pass where he'll go underneath to the other tight end and to Olsen.
Dickerson. Dixon. I always say Dickerson like a damn.
Right, Dixon and Olsen, and then eventually he'll go over the top to the man, Kelvin Benjamin. And Kelvin Benjamin looked really good in the sense of going across the middle of the field. I really liked seeing him do that. He's not scared.
And he lines up in the slot a lot, it seems like, as well, to play the middle of the field. Money, how big of an impact what do you see how us using Cam, and do you see him going to Benjamin a lot early?
See, I feel like the opposite of the whole D'Angelo with Jonathan Stewart the whole first time. I feel like, me personally, I would want to show that Cam's here and he's still Cam. I want to run a little bit I want to mix in a good bit of pass on that first time. Probably quick passes, like that's why I said I like that game plan that Shula had, even using Derek Anderson. Yes, we was running, but we was also hitting the quick pass to Olsen. Quick pass to Olsen. Kotcher getting a little quick pass here. Kelvin getting a little quick pass here. I feel like for Cam at the beginning of the games, it's always going to be hard, I think, pretty much this season for him to connect with Kotry and Avant at the beginning because he's so amped up and ready to go. And Kotry and Avant, because they're not that fast, depend a lot more on time, and they depend a lot on being able to read the defense and knowing that they're going to be open, which I don't think Cam is going to be really in the mood to do that his first game.
I agree. 100%. Is that their game relies on them being crafty and finding using the nuances of the game to make themselves relevant. And Cam, you're right, as he's going to be coming out there and he's going to be firing the ball. If he plays like on that first pass that he throws, it's going to be like 100 miles an hour.
Right, it's a fastball.
And it'll be like to damn a running back, and it'll be like 8 feet away.
I was going to say, he may need to make that first throw to Kelvin Benjamin just for Benjamin to have a chance to catch it.
Yeah,
because nobody else on the team is going to be tall enough to reach up there.
Yeah, he's going to be.
Olsen's probably the only other person tall enough, but he doesn't have a fast enough reaction.
Right, exactly.
Except for that one pass he caught last year on the goal line, where he even mentioned he was like they asked where Cam tried to throw it. We said on our show that he tried to throw it through his soul. But okay, so let's then.
First play, if it was me, I'm running a slant for Kelvin Benjamin.
I like that. I like that play call. Yeah, I'm really with you on this. Is that the mixture we saw from Mike Shula? We got a lot of flack from J.C. Delatorre, who is a Tampa Bay Buccaneers writer, and he was talking junk to us before the game on Twitter, and he mentioned how Mike Shula's playbook was on the size of a napkin and stuff like this. And I agree, as Mike Shula did mix it up enough, and I felt like he was saying, hey, I'm going to use Derek Anderson more aggressively than you guys expected, anybody expected, and I'd like to see that type of play calling out of him more with Cam Newton. I feel like at times he was, well, not at times, he was extremely conservative last year. And he was limited by our personnel. And I hope you guys saw Ted Ginn Jr. last night. Nothing. Not a dang thing. Not a damn thing.
The only person name I heard from our receiving corps last night was Steve Smith.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
that was the pass. And that was his numbers really jumped up at the end of the game, I feel like. I already had an awesome game, so I didn't see it. But
I mean, he had 118 yards, but he had a lot of drops when I was watching the game. And,
really?
And that catch at the end, I mean, it was a 76-yarder, so you take 76 off 118.
Right.
Yeah, that was 80% of his catches or something. I agree, and so I tweeted last night, does Ted Ginn Jr. have more drops than he has catches?
Yeah, I see that. But I don't know how the Tampa fan was talking when his offensive coordinator wasn't even on the sideline.
Right. Well, he did make it to the game, didn't he, Tedford? He did make it he called plays, didn't he?
He was in the booth, but they was still saying that quarterback coach was calling most of the plays.
Oh, okay. All right, so let's turn our attention then for the last 10 minutes of the show to two things. Well, let's look at the defensive side. What did you guys see in the game that you hope to see improve on Sunday? Joey, what do you want to see out of our defense that looks a little better on Sunday, and what were you very happy about, and what do you expect to thrive?
I hope our secondary is able to maintain coverage, a little bit longer. We did a pretty good job overall, I will say that. But there's still room for improvement, and I don't know if these guys are capped out, if they're at their physical ability, the limitations of their physical ability or not. But they're at the end of the game, and maybe it was fatigue. Tampa started moving the ball effectively through the air. So that was a concern for me. Another thing, did you guys know that we gave up in that game against Tampa 102 yards rushing?
But I mean, you have to subtract that because when I was doing my victory lap, I looked at it. They had that many yards, but you got to remember 50 of it came on that play where AJ Klein got caught and the fullback ran it. So that was 50
right.
something.
That's very true. Yes, where they were at the goal line. Yeah.
So the rest of the game, I think they might have had 16 carries for 48 yards or something like that, if you take that one play off. So I mean,
and that's good. That's good, but I guess then you need to look at it and say we don't need to give up any more 50-yard runs.
Yeah, that's the truth. Or have the refs throw the damn flag for holding that was so glaringly apparent on that play. What do you want to see out of our defense, Money, improve on Sunday?
I want to see us not have the breakdowns that we did at the end of the game against the Bucks, because the play where Chris, what's his name, Osawu, whatever his name is, scored. That was a breakdown in coverage. Everybody, I was at first blaming Charles Godfrey, but Luke and Ron Rivera both said that Melvin White wasn't supposed to let him come straight off the line. He was supposed to jam him so that way Godfrey would have enough time to get over the top. And I feel like that's the kind of breakdowns that cost us some games last year. I mean, because we beat Buffalo last year.
Oh, yeah.
If Josh Norman hears that play call to switch. So I feel like we can't have those breakdowns. But I think a lot of what happened at the end was just when we have the lead, we get extra conservative, and I don't always like that. I like, pretty much nailing the game shut.
Well, I would say we get conservative all the time because we didn't take a shot at the end zone with 10 seconds left in the end of the first half. That would have put the foot on the jugular, I feel like, offensively a little. If we would have walked in, if we would have walked in 14-0, right? But we went up 10-0 to end the half, I believe. And if we would have just taken a shot there, one shot to Kelvin Benjamin or Greg Olson, I don't see why we didn't do that and why we kind of just tried to catch him off guard and run up the middle. And then you're right. In the defensive side, it did just seem we took our foot off the gas a little bit, but it's kind of one of those things that it almost seemed like we relaxed too much. And that we were comfortable with that 17-point lead where we were going to just let them get a mercy score.
The only reason I'm not mad about that as far as going for you said on offense to end the half is because you have Derek Anderson in there. So you don't want Derek Anderson to make a mistake like throwing a pick, and then suddenly he goes from being a confident backup to now he's kind of feeling the pressure and falling apart or anything like that.
That's a real good point. That is a very good point because he was feeling the mojo after that first half. He was feeling it.
So at that point, I feel good about just taking the field goal and ending the half like that. Now with Cam in there, I would at least look for the play first and then kick the field goal. But as far as defense, I think not even just the players though. Like when I'm watching them last couple drives, I'm like, why is Mario Addison playing defensive end right now? Why?
I think it was fatigue.
Yeah.
I think they were gassed, brother. I mean, I really believe that. I believe
like Greg Hardy like crawled into the huddle one time.
Yeah, I think they said it was like 110 degrees heat index out on the field. And
so maybe that makes sense. But when I'm watching the game live, I'm just like, what? Right. We're only down by
right. Yeah, it does feel like that
in the game.
I think good news about this is that as far as I've seen, and we had the post-game podcast right after the game, and I felt like we just went to sleep after the football game. Good Lord. I was still riding on the high. We got out of there healthy, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see if there were any dings, they seem so minor that they have not been featured on the newswire very much or anything like that. I think that's a good news coming out of an opening game on the road in that type of heat, in that the physicality that we played too, that we can go into Detroit feeling like we seem to be. Maybe that was like, now we might be running on all cylinders on Sunday against Detroit. Let's go ahead and end the show with picks. What do you think is going to be the outcome of the game? Is it going to be, what's the score? Joey, you got any ideas? Low score and high score, and who walks away with this one?
I think it's going to be, I don't want to say low scoring. I think they'll put up more points than they did against the Bucks. But I see the game being somewhere in the area of 23-20, 24-20, somewhere in that area.
All right.
Carolina wins.
Okay, Money, go ahead.
I got us winning 21-17, 24-17. It's not. I don't think it's gonna be too many times this season we give up 20 points. That's just me personally looking at our defense and looking at the way that we play. So I'm thinking around 21-14, 21-17, somewhere around there.
I'm gonna say I'm terrible at this. I don't even know why I ask. Why I even make this part of a show during the season, because I give you guys an opportunity to go first so I can just bullshit till it's my turn. I think they get 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals on us. So that's 20 points. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
And I see us kicking, I say we win by 3. 23-20.
Right.
You always short armor this. You did the same thing last week. What did you say the game was going to be 19-16 or something like that?
Yeah, I said 16-13, and I think Tony said. What'd you say, Tony?
I didn't call it because I felt bad. I didn't know what. I didn't even want to think about what the outcome of that game was.
I thought you did on Team Boy TV. Did. I think you might have said 19-16, and
I think that's right.
Somewhere around. Because I was like, that many points?
What, for us getting 19 or them?
Them.
You know, I feel like this is that I feel at some point, I think this is why I keep giving teams more points when I pick the game and the score, is I feel like this is that, yes, I feel like we're going to hold you and hold you and hold you, but I feel like at some point, a team is going to have to put up points against us, is going to be able to put up some points against us, and our offense is going to have to win the game. And I'm just waiting for that week for when that happens. I felt like that's kind of what happened in New England a little bit to a certain extent. I mean, not in New England, in the Patriots game a little bit, even though our defense had to make the stop at the end. I felt like our offense was effective enough that where they could take a little credit for the win. And all the other wins last year, I felt like it was the defense won the game for us pretty much. So I'm just waiting for that moment where Carolina's offense goes out there and wins the game for us. And I'm hoping it's going to be this week against – I think this is that maybe we put up more than 23 points. Maybe we put up 27 against a team like this that's got a weak defense. I don't think Sue is anywhere. I mean, everybody acts like we've just played a team that had a great defensive tackle with Gerald McCoy, and Tampa Bay fans believe that Gerald McCoy is number 1. So if we can handle Gerald McCoy, and you were right, you said this, Money, earlier, is that really we don't know anybody on the Detroit Lions outside of Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, and on the offensive side of the ball, and Reggie Bush. Other than that, I can't tell you other than Ndamukong Suh, one player. Joey mentioned a linebacker, and I could say Nick Fairley. And the last time I heard, they were ready to cut ways. I mean, they weren't re-signing him. He's kind of an inconsistent. He certainly isn't. K1 Short's better than him.
Yeah, I mean, because I know they had Chris Houston, but I don't think they have him anymore. Offense, I don't know any of their linemen, but I can name most of the weapons, and that's mainly only because they drafted Eric Ebron from North Carolina.
Actually, in my Madden league, I have Chris Houston plays for the Panthers because I picked him out.
Yeah, I think they let him go, but I can't name anybody in their secondary. I don't think.
No, their best player in the secondary, his name was like Bentley or something. I just peeked on a Detroit website before I got up here, and he is hurt, out for the season. So not only did they suck defensively as it was, is that now the suckiest guys are even hurt, and now we got really just replacements. I think this offense. I think one thing we saw with the Tampa Bay game is that Derek Anderson looked good. And if I'm one person that's going to say this, I'm going to stick to my guns. I stick to not liking Ted Ginn Jr. I'm going to stick to not liking Derek Anderson. Is that part of this is that Derek Anderson looked good because our offense is better than we thought it could be. And Kelvin Benjamin is more of a threat offensively than people thought he could be. Me included from the very beginning. I didn't know enough about him. And I tell you one thing is I love this dude already. And I apologize for saying that I thought we should have picked Bradley Roby. But I'm saying this is that we have weapons now. And our offense can score. So I think
play I don't understand that we ran. What was supposed to be that whole point of running Kotri into the backfield?
Oh, right.
Like he's Deshaun Jackson or something. I was like,
right. But he is no threat to run the ball.
No. I mean that maybe 8 years ago.
If I'm gonna do that little swing pass, because that's what it looked like. Maybe that was an option. I'm gonna do that with Philly Brown maybe.
Right.
Before I would do it with Jericho Kotri.
Right.
I mean, I just feel.
All right.
I feel our team this year.
I agree. Is that I'm back on. I think that we could win the division.
Sure. After last week, I think so. I think it's very easy. And Tampa and New Orleans starting off the division 0-1. That definitely goes in our favor.
Yeah,
but I think,
certainly.
And they might choke this week because they play the Browns on the road, and everybody knows how the Saints is when they play a team that they should beat on the road.
Right. Well,
and the Browns
on the road. Period.
Browns made a game in Pittsburgh. They made a game.
Who was the quarterback in that Browns game when they did that?
Hoyer. It was
Hoyer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
27.
Yeah.
Unanswered. Like a 27 unanswered.
Yes, and a half. That's amazing.
And that does wonders for their confidence.
Yeah, especially with no Flash Gordon. I don't even think Jordan Cameron was getting off like that. I think it was them backs. And Saints showed that they can give up some rushing.
Right.
Poor
tackling I saw by the Saints. Real poor tackling.
I think about the Browns. I think a lot of people forgot who Isaiah Crowell was because I knew who he was when he got kicked out of Georgia.
I am changing my pick now. You guys talked me into it. 27-17, Carolina Panthers win by 10.
Nice.
And Joey and me will be there celebrating. That's my pick. Let's go ahead and just give everything a wrap up for tonight. And what we will do is this. We'll be bringing you each and every week the C3 podcast from CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Money, tell them where they can find you and what you want to plug tonight.
All right. On YouTube, Mr. T Money 1993. I do Carolina Panther videos. On Twitter, Tony knows I talk a lot of my thoughts on Twitter. Mr. T Money 1993 on there too. Google Plus is the same thing. All that. This is Mr. T Money 1993, aka Straight Facts.
I wanted to retweet the tweet you gave to me about why when I said check out the post game podcast or something, and you said why, so we can listen to you. What did you say? So we can listen to you waver about the Carolina Panthers or something like that. I wanted to retweet it, but I was like, man, people would probably listen to that too much and definitely not check it out.
Yeah, because you sounded so unsure about our Carolina Panthers.
I laughed very hard, and I own up to it entirely that I'm glad you call it out. I need people to always bring me back down to earth because I can get a little. I'm wired tight, brother. I'm wired tight like this. So, Joey, tell them how they can get at you, and what do you want to hit up before we go?
You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Riollano. Want to let people know in the Charleston area, we do have a Carolina Panthers fan club meeting for every Panthers game at Southside 17 at Tanger Outlets. We will be there at the game this week. The fan club will still be meeting, so please feel free to get over there. You'll have a good time, good drink specials, really good food. The place was packed last week, absolutely packed, standing room only. But get there early so you can get a seat. And
all right.
Another thing I wanted to mention was make sure you check out our tweet of the week this week because we got some good ones up there.
I'm putting it up. Money, you better check it out. You, I believe, are I want to say, Aaron, did you say something about Brad Nortman and that's why Brad punts like this or something like that? Did you write a tweet? I believe, I'm going to go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. I can look it up real quick. Money, I think one of your tweets was selected as Tweet of the Week. And don't hate on me if it wasn't, but I'm pretty sure that Aaron selected. Did you say anything about Brad Nortman and punting during Sunday's game?
I know I did.
Let me see if this sounds familiar because what we do is just each week we feature, each one of us picks a tweet.
I think I do remember somebody retweeting that tweet where I said something about Brad Norman and something about, I guess it was one of them kids he flipped the field pretty much.
Right,
Yeah.
It's something to the effect of, and that's why we have Brad Nortman, or that's why he's our punter, or something to that effect.
This is it. You were actually picked by Aaron Ford at Panther Drafter for one of our featured tweets of the week, and that's why we have Brad. You think you get in good field position, and he boots it. And because that really does say so much about how that's an underrated part of our defensive game is that our special teams is an extra defender on the field. So I like that a ton. First I want to thank you, Money, for coming on and taking time out of your night and dropping those straight facts on us and bringing me back to reality as always. Look, you even got me to change my pick.
Yeah, hopefully next time you need me on a podcast, we get a little bit earlier.
I know.
It's like 9:40. Hey, can you get on the podcast?
I know. I didn't get home from work till like 7:30, and it's just been. Well, actually, not get home, but I didn't. The kids. Oh, it was a nightmare. So yes, I will hit you up earlier. We will plan to bring you back on. Don't worry. And just check us out, guys. CarolinaCatChronicles.com. C3 podcast every Tuesday night, 10 o'clock. Thanks a ton for Money and bailing us out and coming on at the last second, man.
And I want to mention we have a new show that we're starting.
Yeah. See, I haven't even thought about that either.
Yeah, we have a new show we're starting called Southbound and Down, where we're going to have, it's going to be focused on the NFC South. We're going to have a rep from each team on every week, the same guys, to break down the happenings of the past week. So check it out.
Yeah, Wednesday nights, hopefully at 10. We're still getting the last little bits of it underway. All right, guys, thanks a lot, and have a good night. And Panther fans, keep pounding.